So a couple of days ago for me, I don't know how long it's going to be between uploads for you, I did organize all my single shadows. So that's kind of what I have in front of me right now. When I organized that, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking it out. It's quite a long video, but it's a fun one and it's definitely quite therapeutic, at least for me, and I think for you guys who hopefully were watching it. But when I organized those, I did realize that I was kind of running out of space. I had to put my brands a bit mixed like this, and you know, some of these palettes end up looking a bit like this, very scrambled, and I think this is the one that's particularly scrambled. Here's another one. So I just ended up not really liking how it turned out with the kind of miscellaneous brands that I had. Actually, this one is fine, and it's this palette here that's a bit scrambled, but I did not really like how that turned out. So I realized that I probably need some sort of like some new magnetic palette, and originally the dream would have been to get maybe 1 or 2 more of these Sydney Grace palettes, because they are my favorites and they fit a lot of shadows. Here we have a Sydney Grace palette. I have organized them and I have labeled them as well. So we have Sydney Grace, alphabetical order, and then we have Shine by SC and Divina. I do have 2 more which I have to label, but I haven't gone into that yet. But I did actually end up ordering a new palette because I can't get Sydney Grace very easily, and it costs a lot for shipping, so I'm not going to purchase more right now. But I did end up getting this palette right here from Amazon. I just ordered it straight after filming and it got here yesterday. So it's one of these kind of layered palettes. I know a lot of people have these. I think Gabriella has one and Caitlin also has one, I think. And I always thought they looked very kind of nice, and the quality is actually really good, and I think each layer can hold 28 shadows, and I thought this would be the perfect palette for my miscellaneous brands that I don't have too many shadows of, and hopefully I can brand them like, you know, one kind of brand per layer, and maybe like the bottom one can be a miscellaneous one. That is what I'm going to do today. So it's going to be a quick organization of those palettes, like all of the shadows that are, I guess, just a little bit all over the place currently. So I'm going to jump into the organization, but before I do that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So quickly first, before we jump in, these, like I said, are already done. So we have Sydney Grace, starting with A shadows to MA, and we have ME to TR, so again more Sydney Grace, and then here we have Shine by SD. I do have more Sydney Grace, but they're in a different palette. Shine by SD, but at the bottom here we have some random shades which I'm going to take out. They are going to go into that palette. These are copacetic, I believe. These are what is it called? Luxie. And then here we have Cleona, and these are already organized by alphabetical order, because that's how I organize everything. So that's kind of it right there. So those are going to go in later, but this palette is now fine, and I'm happy to leave some space in this palette now when I have some more shadows like that. Then here we have Divina, and a similar thing here at the bottom. We did put in my potted beauty base shadows, so they can also come out. So there we go, and that again has some space, but I'm happy with that palette. So these palettes are now done, and we're going to move on to the next pile. First off, we're going to look at the other 2 Sydney Grace palettes. Here we have my Terra Moon shadows, and then we have the rest of Sydney Grace at the bottom, and I think I'm going to keep them in here just because I don't want to put them in the other palettes. So I think they're going to stay in here, and here we have also the rest of my Terra Moons. So those are going to stay as they are as well. But let's go on to these smaller palettes, and here we do have some miscellaneous. Here we have an Anastasia single. It's like standalone. We have some Isadora ones. They have been depotted. We have 2 North shadows also been kind of repressed in here. This is a Franken shadow, so it's like a miscellaneous one. And here we have 2 NYX singles, so they are all out from that palette, and they're also going to go in that new palette I ordered. And then we also have another Cleona palette like this. Here we have my 3 MAC shadows, so they can come out. And here we have my depotted BH Cosmetic shades. I can see I have a crack in one of the shades, so I might have to press that down again. It's this shadow right here. And that will do for now. That is Delish. I think that is the right order, right? And then we have those shadows also out. In this palette here, we also have some miscellaneous. In this palette, we have my Makeup Geek singles and then my Departed Juvia's Place, so they can come out as well. These actually are... Can I put them over here? Because actually I'm going to put them here. Because these basically have a couple shades in my BYOP, so I need to leave space for that. I need to remember that I do and need space for it. So I'm gonna make little jump over, so that is my Juvia's Place, and then above it I'm gonna do my Makeup Geek. Perfect. So that is that palette, and that is also empty now. And then we have these two palettes right here. So this palette is fine. This has all my Pastel Roses shadows and it is basically full. The only thing that I'm missing are a couple in my BYP. So this one I'm going to keep as is because it fits them perfectly in there. At least not for now. We'll see if I need to change it. And then here we have some more kind of miscellaneous shadows. I think I'm going to move these out too, but I'm going to keep this palette just on the side for now. And I'm going to move them later if I want. So that is kind of what I'm going to start working with. I do have the palette right here, so I'm going to just go through and organize. So up top here, I think I'm going to start with... What do I want to start with? Maybe I'm just going to go for like... This is hard. I'm going to start just randomly. So I'm going to start with Anastasia first. And we're going to do them in alphabetical order. Next up would be Beauty Bay, but I kind of want to put the Beauty Bay shadows at the bottom because they are a bit fragile and I'm not sure if they will go very well if I just kind of have them go over. So I might put them at the bottom layer. So I'm going to skip over my Beauty Bay and potentially my BH Cosmetic too. I think they're going to go at the bottom. So next up we have Colourpop. And that is what I have in this palette. So I think I'm gonna... Do I want to put them in this layer? I think I'm gonna skip that over. Same with Glam Shop, which is also in this palette. And then next up, in that case, we have Copacetic, which are these two shades here. So we're gonna put them in next. Then we have Isadora. And then we move on to Juvia's Place, which I think I'm gonna put in... Yeah, I'm gonna fit that next. Or should I wait for them and put them maybe in my next palette? Potentially. Maybe I'll put them on another layer. We'll see. But next in that case is Luxie. Then we have MAC. Then Makeup Geek, which again, I think I might put it on another layer. But next in that case we have NARS. Then we have my NYX shadows. And then we have the Franken shade, which is this one here. So yeah, I think that's going to be good for this layer. Or can I fit? Actually, I think maybe I can fit both my Juvia's Place and my Makeup Geek in here. No, they're too many. They can't fit on one layer. Maybe I should fit in my Cleona shadows too though. They can probably also go in here. So there we have that layer. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to move on to layer number 2. And here I think I'm going to go into my Makeup Geek and then Juvia's Place. So there we have those, and I think I'm just going to proceed with Juvia's Place right after. Okay, so there we go, that we have that layer. So then for this third layer, I'm going to go and do this palette right here, which has my Glam Shop and my Colourpop. Okay, perfect. So that is that layer done. And then for the final layer, we're going to do the last shadows right here, which are, again, my BH Cosmetics and my Beauty Bay. And there we go. So that is that layer done. And I think, do I want to keep it like this? Potentially. The thing is, I'm scared that some of these shadows will shatter. But I'm gonna have to just trust it, I think. I think I'm happy with this top layer for sure. Unless I want to move this down a bit. Maybe I want to bring my Juvia's Place down to the bottom as well because they can fit there. Unless I want to kind of move some more shadows down to the bottom layer. Potentially I do want to move my what's it called? NARS shadows there because they are repressed. Same with my NYX shadows, they are also pressed in there. This one is pressed, but it is like a shimmer shadow, so I'm not as worried about that one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So let me move that over. And then on the bottom layer, we're gonna put in these shadows. Perfect. So this top layer, I'm happy with for now. Unless I wanna move up, potentially I wanna move up my Makeup Geek here, if they can fit. I think they can. So maybe I will do that. Something like that. And I think that's good. Then my Juvia's Place shadows I am going to move as well. And I will, in that case, move up my Glam Shop shadows. Maybe I'll put my Glam Shop shadows and my Colourpop shadows on different layers. Just because I can and I have the space. Great, so that is my Glam Shop level. And we're going to move up my Colourpop singles to here. Great, so that is my Colourpop layer. So again, Glam Shop, like miscellaneous brands, Glam Shop, Colourpop, and then here again we're gonna have a couple like miscellaneous. So we're gonna fit in my Juvia's Place just here at the bottom. And there we go. And I think I'm happy with that organization. So yeah, we have BH Cosmetics, Beauty Bay, NARS, NYX, and Juvia's Place there at the bottom. And again, let's just flip through. And perfect. I'm happy with that, and that also means that we have room to grow if we need it. Yeah, I like that setup. Obviously, you know, some of these are kind of miscellaneous still, but I'm fine. I kind of view these as like miscellaneous brands anyway and kind of group together. I mean, Cleona is like a brand that I have a lot of, but not these round singles. But yeah, I'm happy with that. And then to go back as well, we have this palette here full of the Pastel Roses. I could have also put them in this palette, but I like them in here. I might rearrange it in the future potentially. I might put Glam Shop and Colourpop together again and put these on a separate level. And then I will have another C palette free, for example. But I'm happy now with the palettes that I have. I do have this empty for BYOPs. I also now have this palette empty for BYOPs. And then I have two of my Cleona palettes also empty if I need them. And that makes me feel so much happier because I had no space before to store shadows that I was working on or to make again BYOPs and things like that. So I'm jumping in again, and I have actually decided to move over my Pastel Roses shadows into here just because that means that I will have all my round singles in that palette and my Sydney Grace palette, and I won't have any like rogue random palettes. Of course I will still keep these palettes, but I will use them for BYOPs and stuff like that, or if I order more things in the future. But I feel like having it condensed into like less palettes makes more sense, so I'm gonna do that now. This set is also gonna stay the same, and then here we have my Glam Shop shadows, which I will move down to this palette here, or this side here with my Colourpop glitters, just because yeah, they can fit together. And why not just utilize the space in this palette? So I'm going to move them over quickly and then move the Pastel Roses into here. Perfect, there we go. I will keep it like that. And we're going to circle back to that second layer, and I'm going to put in my Pastel Roses shadows. Great, so there we have this palette empty as well, and I feel like that's better because then I will have all my shadows in like the same place for the most part. So yeah, there we go, that is now that layer done. let's circle back to the original video. So that is going to be it for this video. Again, much quicker than the last organization that I did, just because again I had less to organize this time and I already put them in alphabetical order. But super happy with this layout and super happy with this purchase too. I think time will tell how shadows will last in here though, because again, since there are layers and they kind of go upside down, the shadows, I'm a bit more cautious about them, especially with shadows that I have repressed. And that's kind of why I'm putting them at the bottom. But yeah, if you have experience with this palette, let me know how your experience with it has been so far. I do really like it and the quality seems really nice, especially for the price. But I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and of course I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.